Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be talking to you from Perth, Australia. Hey! Now, you might be wondering, Kristen, why are you in Perth? Let me tell you. I decided just before Christmas what I wanted to do with my life for the next season. Very exciting. I decided to come back to YWAM Perth and staff for 2 years. So to cut a long story short, you've seen my journey over this past year of how I did DTS and I came back and was working and saving, and just my emotional journey through that and coming to terms with what the world is like now and coming to terms with that plan and dream kind of ending. I found it really hard to decide what to do next, and I was praying a lot, and I saw a lot of wise counsel, and I just felt like I needed some time. I kept finding things. I did a lot of research, different programs, internships, Bible colleges, a whole bunch of stuff, and I finally just found it. I applied for a 2-year staff program with YWAM Perth. I'm going to be studying a Cert 4 in Christian ministries and volunteering full-time in a ministry in YWAM Perth. But I wanted to share with you a little bit of my time before I left for Perth. So I was packing, getting all of my stuff together, literally packing up my life into suitcases for 2 years. Now this was pretty crazy. It was all moving very quickly. After everyone came back from holidays and I got my acceptance letter and all that kind of stuff, it moved very quickly. I was booking flights. I literally got accepted and I left a week later. So it is currently Saturday and I left yesterday, Friday the 8th of January. And everything was going well. The COVID situation was heating up a little bit in Queensland, so it was a little bit up in the air, but I left and got on my flight to come. I had such a wonderful day before, saying goodbye to all my family and friends, so thank you to everyone that came and said goodbye. I really appreciate that. Yeah, made me feel really special. But before we get into the story time of how I got here and ended up in quarantine, I want to share with you how I packed, what I brought, my suitcases, all that kind of stuff, because I love watching videos like that. So I'm going to share that with you right now. So I always begin when I'm packing, especially this time, because remember, I am moving for 2 years, so it's quite a long time. So I wanted to take all of my clothes that I absolutely love, and I've spent this year kind of revamping my wardrobe and renewing some things. So I grabbed all of that stuff out, grabbing all of my toiletries too, and I just like to lay it all out. So you can see here I've got all of my shoes, I'm taking some reusable stuff, some stationery, nail polish, all of my supplements, some mugs, and that's my dog. How cute is she? And I like to keep all my important documents together, the notebooks and stuff that I want to take. These are a couple books that I'm taking with me, and this beautiful tea box that I got for Christmas, and all my bed linens and stuff. And then we go into all of my clothes. Now it looks like a lot, but I promise you the piles are small. We've got dresses, jackets, jumpers, pajamas, more like summer clothes, because I have to pack for all seasons because I'm going to be there obviously all year round. So jeans and pants and shorts, swimmers, activewear, everything that you can think of, all of my undergarments and socks, my dance shoes. So this is what I'm planning to use. I just bought this new suitcase because it's really big, so I'll be able to take a lot of stuff. And I just got that from Kmart, just bought something affordable. Then I have this carry-on suitcase and this backpack here as well, which I took the first time that I went, and it's super roomy actually, and I can fit a lot in. Because I have a whole bunch of like liquids to take, rather than trying to find toiletry bags that fit it all in, what I'm actually going to do is use these Ziploc bags. I'm normally not a fan of using plastic, but for this instance I think it's just going to be good. Just in case anything leaks, I can section it all off, put it in these plastic bags, and then make sure if there's any glass or anything, I can make sure it's all wrapped up and it won't break. So that's my plan, to use those. So a really great hack actually that my dad showed me was for like all of your glass bottles. So I have a whole bunch of like supplements or even like the coffee syrups and stuff like that that are made out of glass, and I don't want these to break. So especially if it's like a liquid or something, these ones are just tablets, so it's okay. But like I have this bottle of liquid. So what I would do is I put it inside a sandwich bag, ziplock that up. Then you just grab a pair of socks, clean socks obviously, because I'm taking all my socks. So you just put it inside the sock. That way it keeps it nice and tight and padded. So I use one like pair of socks per like bottle, I guess. So I just like overlap them, put them the opposite way. That way it's not gonna fall out. Pack it up like that and then stick it inside your shoe. And this works great because it has the padding and it keeps it in one spot and it's not gonna go anywhere. So if there's turbulence or your bag gets shoved around, which it always does in airports anyway, and when you're flying, it's not gonna go anywhere. So now my tablets are inside here and the glass will not break. So then I just begin packing. I like to pack my backpack first. So this is everything that is like really important to me that I have to have with me. So I like to pack that first. Also, how cute was my dog in the background then? Oh, I miss her so much. And then I just start packing my suitcases, and I always keep in mind that all of my liquids and stuff I like to put in the carry-on just in case, so there's no issues with that. And I always pack the biggest things first and then fit all the little things around it. And I try to keep it as organized as possible, but sometimes, you know, when you have a lot of stuff, by the end I'm just shoving it where it fits. So yeah, start with the big pieces and then move on to the little small pieces. So, going back to yesterday, which was Friday, the day that I flew. So, I got to the airport in the morning. My family drove me to the airport, which was amazing. They sat with me. I got all my luggage checked in. Luggage was overweight. I even bought extra luggage weight previously, but it was not enough. So, I had to buy more. Fabulous. Took a few things out, left a few things behind. All this was happening on the floor of the airport, trying to make it all work. But we got all my luggage checked in and then we headed to the boarding gate. Now we found out, literally we were already at the airport and we started to hear all of this stuff about the government potentially changing regulations and sending the areas that I live in, like the surrounding suburbs where I live, like Brisbane, Logan, all of that kind of stuff, sending them into 3-day quarantine. So we found that out and we were literally sitting at the departure gate ready for me to leave, and we found all of this out. Now they didn't say anything about this affecting like travel yet, like we just didn't really hear anything, and I was about to leave, so I said goodbye to my family and it was really sad. But we cried, but it was also a really happy time because it just, it's a crazy thing knowing that you're leaving and not knowing when you'll be back. But I love my family and they were amazing and they sent me off and I boarded this plane. There was no changes to anything at this point and everyone was just kind of like, oh my gosh, we're so glad we're getting out. You know, we thought we'd be like one of the last flights to be able to get into WA, which turns out was actually true. We got on the plane, we left, everything was going absolutely fine. I ended up getting a whole row of seats to myself. incredible. I just want to say, this flight attendant that helped me pack my bags and get my bags checked in and like helped me with the wait thing, she booked me a seat because I hadn't booked one online. I just kind of left it because I wasn't too fussed about it. She booked me a seat, Wonder Woman. She booked me a window seat and I got the whole row to myself, which was amazing. So, you know, I'm on there, the plane goes, had a bit of a cry and read all the letters from friends and family that they'd given to me to read. So I read those and just watched a movie and all this kind of stuff. And 5 hours went by and we landed in Perth. We land and they kind of let us know that they'll be like getting people off the plane in sections. So they were going row by row and we had to like get our stuff. So it was just super organized. It wasn't really chaotic because often planes can be like that. And the flight attendant literally opened the door and the ground crew were there with like a policeman and they were like, look, like you actually can't get off the plane. And I remember the flight attendant just turning around to look at like her other flight attendant and just go, what? I remember the plane just went silent and we were all just like, what the heck? So then this policeman comes on. So they kind of made the announcement that like there's been some changes while we've been flying. So obviously everyone is turning on their phones. And all these like messages are coming in. Like I had people messaging me saying like, have you heard the new quarantine rules? Like blah, blah, blah. Have you seen like what's happening? And I'm like, no, I literally know nothing. And even the flight attendants were like, we know absolutely nothing. So this policeman comes on board and talks with everyone and pretty much says that the WA's government have changed their rules. So while we were flying, they made this change and they said that anybody coming into WA from anywhere else, but specifically Queensland because we were coming from there, had to go into quarantine because of the recent case that had come up in Queensland. Apparently there'd been some cases come up and like transfer from previous flights and anything like that, so they pretty much locked it down pretty quick and just said like, nope, everyone has to quarantine. So before we left the airplane, everybody just assumed that we'd be able to go in, we just get our temperature checks and everything, and then we'd be able to leave. That's what we went on the plane thinking because that's all that we knew. And we landed and everything had completely changed. So they were processing other planes as well, so they could only do one plane at a time. So all these flights had come in, so they've got all these people waiting, and so they had to do it plane by plane. So everyone had to come in, and he explained that everyone had to be COVID tested, and then you would get the choice to either return back to Queensland, hotel quarantine, or self-quarantine for 14 days. I wouldn't say they panicked, but everyone was quite frustrated because we had no idea this was happening. So especially people that are not residents in WA, we now had to find like accommodation for us to self-quarantine because that was obviously going to be a lot cheaper than hotel quarantine. And they didn't even specifically say hotel quarantine, they just said like you just have to quarantine for 14 days. And that was it. And he said like just be patient, like we're working through it. So everyone's like, great, okay, cool. And he left and we were stuck on the plane for 2.5 hours. And the flight attendants were just like, had no idea, so they gave everyone like a drink and a snack, which was lovely because it was lunchtime, so no one had eaten. And I'm so glad they did that because people probably would have gotten hangry. I know that I like get really tired when I don't eat, so they did that. And so everyone on the plane was like calling like friends and family and trying to sort out what they were going to do. If people were residents of WA, obviously that was okay because they had a place to self-quarantine, but I didn't. So I'm supposed to be going into YWAM and someone is literally at the airport ready to pick me up. So I'm contacting her, I'm contacting my parents, and I'm like, what are we doing? So we had very little amount of information to try and figure this out. So I just went, Lord, like if I'm supposed to be here, you've got to make this like happen. So we have a family friend here that's actually a pastor here in Perth. And she's amazing, and I knew that she was here, and so I just had this thought, I'm like, I've got to ask her what I should do because she will know at least somewhere I could stay or give me a suggestion of where I could stay or who I could stay with. That's hopefully going to be a lot more affordable than doing hotel quarantine. This was all happening towards the end of that 2.5 hours, which I didn't know how long we were going to be on there. So on this plane, I'm just thinking through all the options, talking with my parents, and we're just trying to work this out. So we get the ball rolling to try and find a place for me to stay. And so then they start letting people off the plane. So I was in the first group to come off the plane. So we come in and they gave everyone like masks, hand sanitizer, and we had to line up. And then we got to sit down with a police officer. So they had all cornered off areas and they just got to tell us more of what was going on. So they explained everything, which was amazing. So we actually knew what was going on. And then we sat there and we had to pretty much pick one of the 3 options. I guess there was 3 options. I guess if I had have wanted to do hotel quarantine, I could have said that. But yeah, he was pretty much like, you can pretty much wait to book a flight and go home, or you can stay in self-quarantine. I was like, great, because I wasn't even sure if I was allowed to self-quarantine or whether they'd make us go into hotels. I had no idea. So I did that. And then I was communicating with my dad, who was communicating with our family friend, and she said that she would be happy for me to come and stay at her place because she's actually away at the moment. And I was like, thank you, Lord. So I literally sat down at this table having no idea what I was going to do, and within a couple of minutes texting back and forth, it was all put together and I had to give the address that I was going to stay at. And then the policeman said, yep, that's all good. He took my pass information because we had to do a online pass to get into WA anyway. So I already had that. So he processed all of that and we just talked about a few things like requirements for self-quarantining and got that all emailed to me. And then I had to line up and get COVID tested. My family friend, she's actually away at the moment, so she's not in her house, and she just extended her stay 2 more weeks where she's staying. So she won't be home. And so she so graciously allowed me to come and stay at her house. And she has family that like lives just next door, so I was able to get in, it was all okay. And she said like, you can stay at my place, please like make it your home and help yourself to like anything in the fridge, like we'll get food sorted out for you. If you need anything, you can contact like her family that lives next door. We've got you sorted, like it's okay. And I just was like crazy. I was like, thank you, Lord. Like I could not have done that myself. And I remember just sitting there before I knew what was happening, and I just felt such peace. I was just like, Lord, I just need your peace. And I remember like people were messaging me and I just asked them, I was like, look, just pray that God's peace comes and this whole situation works out smoothly. So after I got my COVID test, I had to wear a mask and everything, and I got my luggage, and then I was free to leave. And I had to get transport straight to where I'm going to be staying for 14 days quarantine. Which the YWAM staff was absolutely amazing. So they were all masked up and they came and picked me up and drove me straight to where I'm going to be staying and dropped me off. Yeah, it's crazy, like the requirements, like they can't touch any of my baggage or anything like that. But yeah, they were so lovely to be able to do that for me. I'm so grateful they could do that. And mind you, this process has taken like quite a few hours. So the resolution of what I was going to do for quarantine happened really quickly, but just the waiting time for that, like I landed at 12 o'clock. I did not get to where I'm staying until 5. So that whole process took like 5 hours. It took a really long time, and I remember I was just so tired. That brings us to now, and that is where I am. I am currently in our family friend's house. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to her. You know who you are. If she's even watching this video, I don't know, but thank you. You're a literal godsend, and yeah, I can't thank you enough. And my COVID test came back. It's literally day 1 of quarantine and they already got my test results back. So they're being really quick, but it's completely negative, so that's fine. So I just have to wait here until day 11, and then I have to go out and get another COVID test, come back, and then once I get to the end of 14 days and get that result, I should be absolutely fine. Like I'm negative now, so there's no reason for it to be positive in 2 weeks time. Like it just doesn't make sense. So hopefully it's all negative, and then I'll be able to finally go out into actual Perth and go and move into YWAM and start my life here in Perth. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed my little story time of how I ended up just getting into Perth and crazily having to quarantine on a whim. So There you go. Hope you enjoyed this story time, and I will see you in my next video very, very soon. See you later.
No, I don't wanna waste what's left. And